Hi everyone, I'm Elisabeth Dawson and you're listening to our show Ways to Love Your Money, which has been inspired by our book that we wrote, Wealth by Design. I hope you all have your copy. If you don't have your copy, go to elisabethdawson.com and get a copy of that. What we want to talk about is actually a topic that most people will ask me about, and how do you do this? And it's called a wealth recovery account. It's in chapter 5 of the book, which is, I think a great book. The whole design of the book is to read it in an hour or less, just depending on how fast you read or you don't. I'm not a very fast reader, so sometimes things might take me a month, but the whole point of this is that we want to give, complicated things where most of us don't have the best relationship with money. We want to give more of a simple approach to how you actually understand money, how you have a relationship with money, how you respect money, and that's really what it's all about. We're given so many wonderful opportunities, but at the beginning of the day, when you get your paycheck, the government's involved usually first, and we all know that. Social Security, Medicare, all those different pieces, and the state. We're in the state of California, so it's a little bit pricey here at times. But when we go from what we're left to spend, then we have to talk about, the financial institutions that we do business with, the banks that we do business with, and then whatever's left over is our lifestyle. So we may have this constant relationship with credit cards, and every month we're paying off our credit cards, but we're never giving ourselves a limit to what we will actually charge on them. So I'm glad that you're paying them off for most of you that are doing that, but if you're keeping a balance, that's really what's going to hurt you, because there's never going to be an end in sight. And we talk about that with banks and financial institutions because they want your money. This is a capitalistic society, which is a wonderful thing. And we have these opportunities to go out and make money. So there's a lot of businesses that are vying for our personal time and attention, and that's really our lifestyle. So let's go to chapter 5. And chapter 5 of the book is, your wealth recovery account. That's pretty much that in a topic. But what we talk about in here, which is so important for us to understand, is that our money is constantly in use by others. So if we're doing business with the government, if we're doing business with financial institutions, if we're doing business with banks, and then our lifestyle is kind of what's left over, how much money is left over for you? Because the goal is that every single year you want to earn as much as you possibly can, but you want to keep as much of it as you possibly can. So what does that look like after taxes and lifestyle and everything else that we have just basically become accustomed to? Well, why do we talk about what a wealth recovery account is? Maybe some of you have heard what that is, but maybe some of you for the first time are hearing it for the first time. So a wealth recovery account is literally looking in the dollars and cents that you are giving to financial institutions, to banks and possibly fees, credit card interest, things like that. It could be excess spending, maybe a bad spending behavior. Had a client that we talked about recently, and of course they liked clothing. Husband loved shoes. And at what point do we want to give those millions of dollars away to these financial institutions? And at what point do you want to bring those millions of dollars back into your life when you get closer to, now and to retirement to enjoy that? So it's truly a recovery of wealth type of an account. So again, everyone's trying to take your money as fast as you can make it, and they love you for paying how you pay and how you spend money, how you spend, and how you keep growing and enhancing your lifestyle. But again, at the end of the day, how much of that money are all these entities worth versus you? So I know I talk about a really simple, could be sounding silly example in the book, and that simple piece is, having a coffee shop habit. I won't say any company names, because one of the company names I think about, I go there too. So it's just one of those things. If we're abusing it, where I've seen hundreds of dollars, if not even close to about $800 to $1,000 a month, let alone a year, on spending something on your coffee shop habit. But that's something where, think about it. It's very social, right? I was just in a little coffee shop yesterday, and it was incredibly social. These people were, kids studying, people just meeting casually and things like this. It's not that I want you to stop those things. I just want you to put a little governor on what you're willing to spend on that, because every dollar that you give away after that is a lost opportunity cost and a loss of your wealth for the future. So again, complicated words, trying to simplify them for you so that you can actually start to look at things. Now, if you're overpaying let's say a mortgage or overpaying a car payment, those are dollars that if you could save those into a wealth recovery account, could you pay off either that credit card, that car loan, that mortgage? Could you pay it off faster if you're saving this money on the sidelines? And the answer is yes. So we want to talk about baby steps. Baby steps are number one, getting a better relationship with your money. Number two, finding out these excess costs that you're spending down and giving to financial institutions in your lifestyle, and really start to measure it. So I think one of the examples that we use kind of simply in the book were some of the average costs that people do on, it might be an overpayment, or it might be really like a cost that they're doing on a little habit that they might have. And I think we used a cost very, very simply of about $2,300 a year, which I know, and I think all of you know, that we're probably wasting a lot more than $2,300 a year. It's usually in the tens of thousands of dollars. And so when I've talked to people and I've actually looked at something, what we call a found money report, is I'm trying to help people find the money that have been going to all these financial institutions and really evaporating from your life. So if you really want to get a handle on your cash flow and really start to do something new, and it's not New Year's anymore, and you're not having your New Year's resolution of saying, I want to save money, pay off debt, I want to be able to save for retirement, don't forget and get amnesia that you had that as your New Year's resolution. Put it back on your to-do list and don't procrastinate. Procrastination is pretty much the biggest killer of any kind of financial success that we have. So how much money in your world do you want to recover? How fast and at what rate of return do you want to get on that money over your lifetime to get you to maybe age of retirement, or maybe helping you retire sooner? We talk so much about these things, and it's really just about becoming more knowledgeable and more mindful of what those dollars and cents really look like. So on average, when we work with a client, we really go through cash flow analysis and try to find the money for them. We'll find in excess of $50,000, $60,000 per year. And this is maybe a couple that's earning, $150,000, or an individual that's, at $150,000 or more, which I think a lot of these listeners out there are probably there. If you're under $100,000, we just worked with a client the other day, and they were about $88,000 worth of income combined, and we found them over $36,000 a year. So this isn't little money, this is big money, and it's about you knowing and having a better relationship with your money. So I encourage you to get a copy of the book. I encourage you to start reading about what a wealth recovery account is. I encourage you to start recovering wealth that financial institutions, banks, and government are giving, taking from you, and you're just willingly giving it away. So let's stop those unintended consequences, and let's really go for more financial success for your freedom and your future. And, I can't tell you enough, there is so much valuable information, not only in this book, but other things that we can refer you to. But I'm so glad that you're listening today. I think it's been a great opportunity, and hope you'll stay tuned for a really wonderful guest that we have coming up next.
Hi, it's Jonathan Olow with the Olow Real Estate Group, serving the communities of San Diego and the Palm Springs area. I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that the loans and loan rates in today's market are actually coming down a little bit. This might be timely, things aren't going to be jumping up and down, but I wanted to let you know that there are programs out there through different institutions that offer lower interest rates for first-time buyers, people that are going to be doing investment properties, bridge loans, if you're going to do a home equity line. But there is a program actually out there for 0% down. Of course, there are things that you have to meet. There's other programs for veterans, which are also 0% down. But if you have any questions about any of those programs, I'm happy to introduce you to my trusted mortgage advisors to give you that information and maybe start the journey to home ownership. You can reach me at 619-823-9900. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Elisabeth Dawson, and you're listening to our show, Ways to Love Your Money, again inspired by our book, Wealth by Design. So it's right here. You can kind of see a couple things here, but we have a great guest, and he's been on our show a couple of times here, but he is our expert real estate advisor out there, and I can't wait to ask him a few questions about how his day was, and even the drive coming back down here from Palm Springs. So without further ado, thank you again for joining us here at the show today,
Great
Jonathan.
to be back
yes.
here.
Good,
So,
good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the monthly,
Good.
opportunities to advise your clients and people out there. So.
Yeah, it's a fun way to kind of have conversations with people that maybe don't know who we are, but also don't know our expertise. I know years ago we met, probably about 15 plus years ago, and it's been an incredible journey ever since. And you kind of came to me with
Flailing arms because I didn't know what to do.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what most people do when they come and see me, which is, let's admit it, right? There's things that we aren't experts in.
Correct.
And just like I've gone to you when it's about buying or selling real estate, right? I don't want to do that one on my own. It's bad enough. Yeah. But the whole goal is to make it easier, right? Yeah. It's to make it more simple, make it a little bit more fun in the process, because we know it can be kind of crazy.
Yeah, and just educate yourself. Whether you use that information or not, at least you took the effort to engage and educate yourself. And if you use it for yourself, great. If you can pass it on to somebody else or a client, then that's great too.
Right.
So.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. And I know we were talking a little bit about, you're in real estate, but you're also in the business of real estate, and you have quite a few pieces of real estate that you've been able to have as an opportunity over these last 15 years. And it was about creating kind of a liquidity scenario for you, just so that you could actually have opportunity. Gosh, and you did have opportunity in 2008 because you did have liquidity. Yeah. So many people out there, they'd have no liquidity for any opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only a very small few.
Yeah, and I think we came to, I came to you right before I was building the dream house, and how we would make that happen. And I was through a transition I wasn't a real estate agent at the time, but I was flipping properties in San Francisco, in Tucson, in San Diego. Yes. And, how do you take that money? Because for many years, I bought, I sold, because I grew up with the mentality of pay your bills, get things paid off. But if I would have known, of course, what I knew 15 years ago, 25 years ago, I probably would have had a couple pieces of property in San Francisco worth $8, $9, $10 million.
I know.
I'm not going to kick myself, but our parents give us a good foundation, and luckily my parents, did that. But then coming to you, the doors opened, and thinking, because it took, 2 or 3 times going back and forth to your office, like, I don't understand that, It sounds too simple.
We call it a little amnesia.
Yeah, it is. You walk out the door.
Everything sounds great, and then you walk out and you're like, how does this all work?
Yeah, how does it all work?
Yeah.
Well,
that's why we call me a financial coach. I've got to coach you through to make sure that these decisions are really solid for you. And I know you went through some life things, and you were able to keep like this position to save and grow your money, but at the same time have liquidity opportunities. So, and we talk about that. We talk about it in the book about investing in you, and your best investment is you. Yeah,
and you taught me about creating your own bank, and in the book there, it might be a wealth recovery, or it's an annuity-based program like the group life insurance, not group life, whole life.
Whole life, yes.
Whole life. I always forget that. The whole life program is I created a couple banks, these things, and so I've bought and sold some properties, but the ones that I've purchased, if that opportunity is there at that moment, I can write myself a check for $250,000 or $400,000. Right. I don't need to go to an institution. Now, of course, I'm going to pay that back as quickly as I can. Sure. But at least I know I have, full control of, the liquidity of creating that.
Well, and we know so much when we're meeting with people that the majority of what they do, their biggest purchase is a piece of real estate.
Correct.
Their primary residence usually. They may want to buy a second home or something like this as time goes on, and we try to give them the tools to be able to do that. And every investment out there is a tool.
Yeah.
It's truly a tool. So they know that that's important to them. They're trying to pay it off as fast as they can, which I know we have some different philosophies about that. And then, the other part of it is they're putting the most amount of money that they can into the retirement account. I absolutely want people to put money into a retirement account, but if it has a different shape or size or name to it, and it helps you accomplish those things, wouldn't you want to know those opportunities? And I think when it does come to opportunity time, and I know this from 2008 to pretty much 2011, if you didn't have the ability to write a check and pay cash for something, you weren't going to get in on those deals. And people are worried about that it's going to happen again. Well, can 2008 happen again?
Yeah.
We hope it doesn't happen as bad in real estate, but could it happen again?
Yeah.
It does go through those cycles, right?
Correct.
So having that liquidity, I think, is really a key component to making sure that you can, really take advantage of so much more that maybe others can't.
Yeah, and it's being able to take care of yourself and go to you like you said, as a coach, if you have advice. And I know we joked around last week when I was on vacation in Puerto Vallarta, and
you gave me a really hard time.
I texted her and I said, "Hey, we need $400,000 out of our account," and she freaked out. And I go, "What are you doing?"
Yes, you haven't told me anything. I don't know any.
Just kidding. So that's my humor with her. So,
I know, but it's good. I'm glad that we have that relationship.
But I know I could do it if I wanted to do it.
You could.
But at
the other part was that you said you weren't going to come back for about 4 or 5 years. And I was like,
that was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just slowly wire the money out.
Yes, that might work.
Yeah,
might not work.
Yeah, it might not work. But everybody has. That's funny because people will come to me and say, "Okay, who's that their friend told them about a CPA and this is the program they should be in," and it really doesn't work that way. It's like going to the doctor's office. Yeah. You have to fill out a history, and then you have to say, what do you want to create? And I know that I remember, when I first started, was you had this big piece of paper and saying, what do you want to do? What do you want to plan? What are your dreams? What are you? Where are you? So then you can kind of connect the pieces, same way that I do. I mean, you and I work in tandem with some of our clients together, saying, I think that'll work. Maybe you push encourage the client this way, and I may do it this way, and but we come together to say, well, our goal is to make them successful. It's not. If they want short-term happiness, well, then fine, we give it to them, knowing that you might have to pay the price later. And it's like, paying your insurance premiums, the things that I pay every year. And when those come in, I'm more comfortable paying a yearly payment, which is a huge. I think a huge hit, and I get nervous every year.
Every year.
But I'd rather do that because I like the pain to be done in one shot. I'm not going to do it every month.
Well, and the difference with, you have a lot of accumulation in your life insurance in your whole life, and it has to be very well designed. It has to actually have the performance that we want it to be, but it creates that liquidity. Now, the difference is, let's say it was a big 401k or a 403b, something like that, which I know prior to meeting me, you actually had some of those, and you still do, which is fantastic. We want to still grow that money. But this one piece that we can use as a tool has opened up the opportunity for liquidity versus if we just had a 401k. Let's say our 401k was $600,000, right? Well, the maximum that you can borrow for an opportunity is $50,000. It's either 50% or $50,000, whichever is less. So the maximum amount of loan, a $50,000 loan is not going to help you buy a piece of real estate. But if you have $500,000 in your well-designed whole life insurance contract, and it's really based on performance, then you can write yourself a check for $500,000 if you want to go and do the opportunities that maybe you didn't have before. But yes, paying it back as quickly as you can helps you to be able to do those things all over again. And you're just resourcing money.
But it still gives you the opportunity. It doesn't mean that you can't do anything. Like in our Parents' Day, you don't spend anything until you retire. There's a balance. And like you were saying, your wealth recovery account, it's like you make those choices every day. And it could be $1, it could be $1.85. But if that ends up being, 30, 40 times a month, it's $150 or something, and that could be the difference, in your mortgage payment, saying, oh, that put me over the edge, or now I can do that.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned the whole piece when you were on vacation last week, and you're like, oh, cash out my account, let's get the paperwork ready, I'm going to stay down here for 4 or 5 years. And I went, okay, well, just let me know what's going on, right? But you do have the liquidity if you wanted to make something like that happen, which is so nice. Now, I had someone else joke around with me not too long ago too, and it's a family, parents I work with, and kids, daughter and son-in-law, and they were at dinner one night and making a joke, and I go, oh my gosh, I'm the butt of the joke, and they said, oh, don't tell Elisabeth that we got this appetizer. I go, oh my gosh. And I'm sure that many more people joke about that with me.
Oh no, we don't.
Because it's all about finding money that we can actually resource to do other things with. But we're all guilty of it, right? We all have a great time, and we just enjoy life, and I want everyone to enjoy it. So when we talk about this and that liquidity that it created for you, how many pieces of real estate do you think you purchased probably over the last 10, 11 years?
I
Don't
would
mean it to
have
be a
to
tough
say
question.
it could be 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
And again, it was a short-term loan to myself,
Right.
and that's really the way I look at it. Because
Right.
if it is going to take 3 or 4 months to pay it back, I do have to pay interest, basically back to the account,
Right.
which is fine. But again, it's my bank that I'm paying, and you know, and it's also available. I mean, not to say that I'm doing bridge loans for people, but you know that if I do have a family member or friend that's like, wow, this is an opportunity, and I want to be a good friend, you know, then I could pull a chunk of money out because I can.
Well, that's not been a suggestion for me, but that's
Correct.
okay.
Of course, I would get title first on title or
Sure,
something like
sure.
that.
Well, it's leverage. It's about being in control of your cash flow. It's about knowing, your relationship with money, what you can do and what you can't do. And so it's a wonderful opportunity that you do have those resources. And I know it's not the only one, but so many people are so focused on real estate. We'd like to buy more real estate, especially in a growing economy that we've been experiencing. It's been fantastic. Interest rates have been really low on mortgages, and we have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So how do we continue to do it with success and not feel that we're going to be in a
and
pressure situation?
when you're saying, buying and having that stuff, now I've released myself of those obligations. And not that I don't like having it, because I'll still probably go back in and buy some things. But for me personally, because I had real estate friends saying, what the hell are you what the heck are you doing, selling this property or selling this one? It's like, it's not part of my life right now.
Okay.
I don't want to have those responsibilities, and to me it made me feel better. So then it gave me more time to work on my business and in my business, so I can give my clients a little bit more time.
Yes.
Not that it was so time consuming, but it's always something that's back there, because if you're not paying a property management company, then you're always going to have those issues. So there's the joys and the pains of owning property, because it's not all fun. I mean, there's work to be done because it's your asset.
I think that's really important to actually mention that, because I do talk to people that have had real estate over many, many years, and then they keep it, they acquire it, they have all the deferred maintenance that they're dealing with it, and then they get to a certain point in life where they're like, I don't want to be that landlord anymore. So I think it's important for you to know or discuss that, because what is the exit strategy? What is the exit strategy of that piece of real estate? It might bring you great cash flow now, but if it's becoming burdensome, when is the right time to do that?
And there's also strategies, because you may own 3 properties. I'm not a CPA. I don't know all the rules, but I know that living in your home, 2 of the last 5 years. So you may say, well, I'm going to move into my rental for 2 years and do that, and then boom, sell it. Then you can take the taxable benefit, the gains up to $250,000 per person. So that could be a strategy for somebody. But that's a 2 or a 4 year obligation that you have to have. But if you're going to make $500,000 in 4 years,
not a bad thing.
Who's not going to do that?
Yeah, not a bad gig. You can always exchange into another property, but if you don't want to be a real estate owner anymore at one point, and most people I've ever talked to, they get to a point where they're like, I'm really done. They can either pass the reins off to a child to be able to manage, or a property management company, whatever it might be, but they get to a point where it does get a little bit more of a job, especially when people are getting closer to retirement. So
it brings me a lot of joy to watch people grow, especially now that younger people are getting into property that are 27, 28, and I look at them and I commend them for getting in the game. I was in my late 30s when that really happened, and I think it's fantastic that they're getting themselves set up. So that's what brings me the satisfaction. So.
Well, and I think you're a true advisor when it comes to real estate. You are a true expert, and I know we can talk about that for hours and hours, because I'm such a big fan, and I love the fact that you're partnering with the show, because I think that you have a great message to tell people too, and it's just
Well, I'm going to turn the table. Then.
okay.
I'm going to become the interviewer here, because I'd like to know. Well, I kind of know, but I would like all of the the listeners out there and the viewers. Sorry,
Yes,
it's a podcast video.
Yes.
I'm curious what is important to you about providing the financial coaching and support and guidance for your clients for current and long term?
Okay.
What does it bring to you? What's important about it to you?
You know, I feel like it's a kind of inbred passion for me. It's something that's bigger than I am. It's truly a gift. I can't say that. You know, I have this amazing expertise on my own. You know, I'm a very faith-based person, as you know, and I feel like it's a God-given talent, and it's for me to continue to give back to people that become part of my family, the Copia family, if you will, and being able to touch people's lives in such an incredible way, to help them not feel so oppressed about what finances really mean to them, giving them more of a relationship kind of course to navigate through so that they feel more confident. Because it takes me back to when I was young and I had my kids, you know, I was around 28, 29 years of age, and I'm going, what does life insurance mean? What does a 401k mean? What does, you know, buying a house mean? And there really wasn't anyone to kind of guide me along the way. You know, I was very young when I bought my first piece of property. I was 23, so I was very young. And back in the mid-90s, if you will, or early 90s, it was kind of interesting. You know, I had my first child at that point, and you know, she's going to be turning 26 this month, which I can't believe. But so much life has happened to me over all those years, right? Versus, you know, today, right? There's so much that happens in 2 weeks, let alone 2 years or 26 years. But my passion is to educate as many people as I possibly can about having an easier relationship with money, not one based out of fear. So many people that we talk to, it creates fear, it creates anxiety, it creates anger. And it shouldn't be, you know, money's so emotional, but it shouldn't be if we start to not worry about things, you know.
So what's important to you about being passionate about what you do? What does it bring to your life?
You know, it's a true joy because I really feel like it is a gift to give to other people. And when I see their successes, you know, when I've seen your successes over, gosh, the last 15 plus years and other people that I've been able to be so fortunate to work with, it's such an incredible joy and exhilaration to see people's success. And I want them to have great success. I want them to be able to leverage life and use all the tools that are available to them that they don't really have all the knowledge and expertise to know how it works. But, you know, like I talked in the first part of the show today before you came on, you know, wealth recovery account. People don't even know the concept of that in normal sense. So,
and that's on page 35.
Page 35, yes, of the book. And I just encourage people to get more knowledge and education. You know, they never, you know, remember when we were back in school, they didn't really talk about a financial class. I remember the one class I have, which probably started this bug, I was in 4th grade, and I had one of my most favorite teachers, I think, of all time. Her name was Mrs. Deutsch, and I only had her for half the year, but she had this business, you know, education that she gave us, and how to, you know, save money and how to do a checkbook. They don't even know how to do checkbooks today.
I was just going to say, it's like, what's a checkbook and what's a rotary phone?
Yeah, right, right. And they don't even know how to balance a checkbook or anything like that anymore. And you know, in my life, I have Jennifer. Thank God I have Jennifer. You know, and she helps me so much run the business, run even my personal life. If I didn't have that help, I wouldn't be able to get through it. But it's because I have such a responsibility, because of my knowledge and expertise that I can give back to other people, that I truly want to see, you know, the entire United States be as successful as they possibly can with their relationship with money, and know that there is hope. It's truly all about hope. And when I have someone sitting in my conference room for the first time and they talk about, gosh, I feel so hopeful now. Well, before that, they were feeling so devastated because they thought, I could never own a home. I could never get out of this debt. I have to claim bankruptcy. Oh my gosh, I could never have children because I can't afford them. And I go, you know, your goals, dreams, and desires, that's what this is all based on.
Correct.
And when I can give that back, it's truly a joy, and it's a fulfillment for me. And I love what I do each and every day.
Well, I think people are, if what they don't know is what they don't know, and they're afraid to ask, or they're, you know, with people in their lives that just, you know, poo-poo, you know, oh, you can't do that, you're too young to be an owner, you're, you know, those things. And you know, hopefully we can be those guiding forces.
We shouldn't have rules. We shouldn't have rules.
Well, I like to say guidelines. I don't like the rules. The rules usually don't change. Guidelines can do this. Because, you know, we're going to have a market. Things are going to change. You know, I could see you for an appointment tomorrow, and a year from now things could be different. So it's like, okay, let's change the path. You know, our lives change. And, you know, especially with everybody's lives. There's births, there's deaths, there's divorce, and those are things that we have to deal with. Because when somebody says, I'm retiring, or, hey, I'm getting divorced,
Yes.
that, they can come to you and say, can you help us with mediation? Because there's ways to say, why are you paying an attorney when you both have grown all your wealth accounts together for 5 or 10 or 20 years?
Right.
Why throw that away?
Right.
Sure, there might be, bad blood between the two people, but if you look at the big picture, why would you do that? And I don't know, some people would just want to get a knife and, do whatever they do, but if you've spent that time, growing your wealth, why would you just toss it down the drain? I mean, attorneys are great, but why end up in litigation?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking me where my passions are and what I want to bring back to people. And I know we're always, we could talk all day, which is a wonderful thing, but I know for listeners out there, they just want to hear as much as they can. Roll it up. So I know you're going to be back here soon next month, so I can't wait for you to be back. And you can ask me more questions, and I'll ask you more questions. Maybe we'll just talk about what the hot topics are right now.
Fantastic. We'll get a couch. I can start asking you questions, be your therapist.
We'll get a long couch with a yellow pad and a pen. It's all good. Oh, thanks for being here. It's just always such a joy, again, for me to have you here and just our relationship too. So
thank you.
With that said, it's been a wonderful half hour or so with you all today, and I'm so glad that you've had the opportunity to hear maybe a little bit more about me that you didn't know, and truly where my passions come from. There's definitely other episodes that we'll talk about more, but instead of having a maybe mediocre relationship with money, let's have a strong, happy relationship with money. One of my dear friends, even last week, I heard them talk about their experience of what we've done, and she even said, she goes, I don't think about money anymore. I don't let it control me anymore. I don't worry about it anymore. And that's really what I want for each and every person that's listening to this show. And, if I'm fortunate enough to meet you one day, I can't wait. So without further ado, we're gonna end today, and hopefully if there's something that you've heard about, let us know. You can reach out to us. So again, thank you so much for being on the show, Jonathan. It's been wonderful to have you here again. Yes, thank you. Hi, it's just a little message for me, Elisabeth. I wanted to reach out to you and find out some feedback. How are you liking the show? What are you thinking? Is there a guest that you'd love to be introduced to? If so, give us a call at 619-640-2622. Reference the show that you saw and the guest that you heard, and we'll get you introduced. Now, if you also want to be a part of the show and you want to be interviewed, if you're a thought leader out there and an expert like the experts that we've had on the show, let us know. We'd love to have you here as a guest and get to know you a little bit more as well. The information provided in this show is for informational and educational purposes only. This show is not investment advice, nor is it intended to address the financial needs of any particular viewer. The opinions expressed on this show are not intended to be an endorsement of any particular investment strategy or service of any other kind. You must make an independent decision regarding investments or strategies mentioned throughout the show. Before acting on information in this show, you should consider whether it is suitable for your particular situation and strongly consider seeking advice from a financial advisor.